it almost feels absurd to say and to think that tomorrow's game against Philadelphia is a must win. But this is where we are. Because if we lose tomorrow, we'll be 1-3 to start the season. Now let's just say hypothetically that we were 2-1 right now, and tomorrow we lost because Philly's tough and it is away from home. And we were 2-2, I would feel so different about losing tomorrow. I'd feel so different about this whole situation. But it's not just the record and the potential of going down 1-3. It's how you've played. It's the fact that you barely beat Miami without Tyler Hero. It's the fact that you lost that game against Atlanta that you should have won at home just to prove yourself. And the fact that it was in your hands and you blew it. And then the fact that the next night against Chicago, I understand it's on the back-to-back, but that was the one where we could have had some leeway. But the way that it's all gone down, that then became a must-win, which you look terrible. And I understand how hard it is on the back-to-back, but that's why that Atlanta catastrophe, that collapse, was so egregious. Because you knew the next night was going to be tough. You were up, and you let it slip. And now we're walking into Philly, who are a tough side. Even if they're not fully healthy, they're still tough, right? We're probably going to struggle to stop Tyrese. We usually struggle with small, quick guards. And I'm worried that we're going to go 1-3 to start the season. And now I have to, like I said, I have to completely change my thinking about the squad. I know yesterday I said that we could have been a team that only dropped 3 games up until the end of November. That's highly idealistic, not likely, but could have. Based on what we had on paper, this was a team where I'm thinking, man, we should be right up there. There's so few teams that we should really be willing to cop a loss to. But Atlanta's not one of them. Okay, we look better than Atlanta on paper. We certainly shouldn't be losing to Chicago. Miami without Tyler Hero should not be a problem. Okay, like if I look at the schedule, Detroit, we should beat. It doesn't matter how tough they might be. It's a team that we should win, all right? And I certainly don't want to be the team that struggles against anyone who's above 500. I'm not interested in that team either. I'm interested in a top 4 team in the East. I'm talking about someone who would make it past the first round. I don't care if Detroit is tough. They're a team I would expect us to beat. Charlotte, I expect to win. Okay? Wizards, I expect to win. It doesn't matter if this is a road trip. These are teams that you should be brushing aside if you are what we think you are. Atlanta, tough. Someone you have to prove yourself against. I still expect you to win. Okay, they're not Oklahoma City Thunder. They're not anyone of that echelon. These are people that I would argue, I guess, in our camp, in our level, on our tier, but teams that we should still be beating in my eyes. Celtics banged up. We should be winning. Portland should win. The Knicks are a hard one. That's one where as long as you play well, live with the result. But again, a chance for you to prove yourself potentially. But that's one where it's like, yeah, they're in our tier. That'll be a tough game. As long as I see what I want to see, I don't think I'm going to be upset. You see what I'm saying? My expectations aren't crazy high. They're just what we see on paper, what we think you should be doing, what you said you think you can do. We all see the same thing. Your skill, your talent, all of it. But this is also why the pressure has to be on so early. Why this type of approach? Like I said, I could have been happy you losing tomorrow and being 2-2, and I could have been a completely different mindset. Now you and going 2-2, winning tomorrow, it's relief. It's not joy. It'll be relief. We're in a completely different world now because of the way that things have gone to start the season. I don't want to be that guy. But you have to also understand this. The one thing that I want above all else is not only to see these guys succeed. I want these guys to succeed. You see what I'm saying? These guys in particular, okay? Because I get attached to to the people that come through Orlando. I love these guys, man. It broke my heart to see Cole Anthony go. As much as it needed to happen, as much as for business and for the squad, it was the right decision, especially bringing in Desmond Bane. And I love that we have Desmond Bane. But if things don't work out, we might lose Jamal Mosley. We might lose some of these players that I've grown attached to. I don't want that. I don't want that. That's the last thing I want. I want it to be these guys that lift the trophy. I want it to be these guys who have a long career in Orlando. And I feel that about everyone who comes through. Okay, that's what I want. I don't want people to be shipped out. I don't want the story to be they couldn't get it done. I want it to be these guys. I want to see the tears of joy run down their faces. I want to see the smile on their faces. I want it to be them. I'm sorry I'm making the camera shake, but that's what I want. I don't want this to go south. This isn't necessarily just about sports, right? I understand that there are other things in life bigger than sports. But if they're serious about doing this, that's not the mindset you can have. It has to mean everything. It has to be the focus and the center of everything, and you have to treat it like there's nothing outside of it. It has to be your focus, your obsession, if that's what you want. And I want that for these guys. You win one championship, I can die happy, truly. You win one championship, I'll die happy. I'm not expecting a dynasty, I just want one. I just want to see you win one, and I would like it to be these guys, because like I said, I get attached to everyone who comes through Orlando. I love all of these guys. And I want them to succeed. And like I said, I don't feel so bad about being negative or putting on this pressure early or not, because I know they're putting that pressure on themselves. I know what's probably being said in a locker room. Even from the other side of the world, I can probably guess what the mood is. I think Philly is a must-win. I really do. And like I said, this isn't going to be a celebration if we win. It'll be relief. It'll be the feeling of relief, and then I expect us to go on to the next game and go 3-2 against Detroit. Again, if you drop a game to Charlotte or Washington, even if they're away from home, I would be quite upset. That is so below expectations. And we can sit there and say it's not fair the way that I'm having these expectations, but understand this, at my job even, I'm expected to hit targets. Expected. If I do not, I get let go. That's my reality too. I'm expected to not only do the bare minimum, but excel. To go over the target. Okay, but I need to at least hit the bare minimum, and the bare minimum is still very hard just to keep the job. They will let me go for what they will. I've seen too many of my friends lose their job because they couldn't hit the target. Okay, and this also isn't the first job that I've had where targets were expected to be hit. This isn't uncommon, and like I said, I'm not getting paid, and no one celebrates me when I do it. And I'm alright with that. Okay, there's no glory in what I do. There's not glory in anyone's life, really, unless you are in this position that they are in as professional athletes. And all I want is their success. I might be a fan of the team, and I want the team to win, but I also really, really have a lot of appreciation for the people that come here. Or there, being in Australia, but I've come to love Orlando as a city, all that I've learnt about it and everything. And like I said, I get an attachment to these players, man. As you would. I want them to be the ones who succeed. I want it to be them. I don't want to see a reshuffling. I don't want to be the guy that says he has to go. I hate saying that. I never want to say it again. I want it to be these guys. I want it to be this team that does it. And I think they can. I absolutely think they can. But if that's the standard that we're going to hold them to, even like I said, at the end of the day, it is basketball. And I can say, look, I still love these guys. But if this is the goal that we've set, then the pressure has to be on. And it would be the same if I had set myself any goal, which it is and which I do. Not just at work, but in my hobbies, my passions, the things that I pursue, in the careers that I build. It's always about taking the criticism. It's always about seeing our weaknesses, improving, striving, making no excuses. Just knowing what our goals are. And if you say our goal is, just to go out there and have a good time, that's fine. I can chill out. And I can not really worry about what the scoreline is. But so long as you say that we have a target, then we carry ourselves as if we have a target. Whether or not there's bigger things in life, it's irrelevant. It's about the journey, the pursuit, and what it means to really hit those targets and to really achieve anything. Whether or not it's true that there are more important things. Of course there are. There always will be. But that, like I said, that being true doesn't give you the liberty to walk into any pursuit or journey with that mentality if you actually really want to achieve something. That's not the approach you can have. You can know it in the back of your mind, but you can't walk in with that mentality, because then everything is okay. Everything is eternally hunky-dory and it's all good for your mentality. It's all good for your happiness. But that's not the mentality that you walk into the gym with. That's the mentality you walk in with after you've left. And if you've had a devastating loss like you did to Chicago, no happiness. Sorry, you lose sleep tonight. You should be devastated. And that's the way that it is, okay? If you really care that much, if you really want it that bad, I'm not telling you to feel devastated. You should feel devastated. Otherwise, you don't care. Otherwise, you just don't care, because if you really cared and it meant that much to you to hit these goals, to hit the targets that you've set, to strive, you would be devastated. And if we don't care, we don't care, but it means that there's also something going on with our approach. And although you might be right, and it is just sport, and it's unfair to put pressure on anyone, this is what comes with goals and expectations. And they've put them on themselves. No one else has to do that. They do that. You ask them in the locker room what their expectations are this year, what their goals are this year. They'll tell you. I bet it might even be higher than top 4. I bet they believe that they might have a chance to win the whole thing. I think top 4 is the most reasonable goal with what they have, and they should be aiming for that. But this doesn't look like a top 4 team in the East. Not that they can't be. It is still early, but we're going to treat them like a top 4 team, like a serious contender, and as such, it has not been good enough. Still love the team, still fully supporting, always will, no matter what. But this isn't the type of conversation I've ever had in the Vucevic era. In the Vucevic era, we were just living for games and moments, Like, I still think about that DJ Augustine 3 all the time. I still think about that last-minute buzzer-beating dunk with Kyle O'Quinn running down the court, with that big smile on his face. We weren't contenders, but these were the moments as a fan with no actual hope that we lived for. To watch the game, to just root them on, and it didn't matter. But now that we have expectations, and we're not really looking for ping pong balls anymore in the draft lottery, we have to shift our thinking. We have to shift the way that we see things as a serious contender. And like I said, when this journey's over and we're going back to rebuilding, I'll go back to rooting on the young guys and really just seeing what everyone gives us. And so long as I see good things, I'll go back to just living for the moments and just watching the build. But the build is done now. And it's time to start winning. And I will be with the team now and afterwards, regardless of what happens. But right now, this is the journey we're on. And that just is what it is. And I know that it comes off negative and maybe a bit ridiculous to some people to be putting on this pressure, going into our 4th game of the season. That's not how champions see things. That's not how winners see things. It's from the jump. It's from the jump. There are no off nights. And I'm saying that as someone who would have been happy losing tomorrow 2-2 if things were different. Just because I know how things go. I'm not expecting perfection. No one is. But we also expect a bit more than what we've been seeing. And I think even the team would admit that they're far from happy with the way things are going. We can do this. I'll see you guys after the game.